one of the cool things about Young Conference is that we get to meet some brands that I've never even personally met. I'm going to be shaking hands with Ted for the first time in just a moment. But one of the cool things about it is that there are things that we have up here for Shark Tank that have never been franchised before. And so today, we're going to get into it. So Ted from Tiger Adjusters, the CEO, is going to tell you a little bit about it. So Ted, go ahead.
How's everybody doing? My name is Ted, and I am the CEO and founder of Tiger Adjusters. And as Zach said, we are the first public insurance adjusting franchise in the nation. This is Raul Lopez out of Houston, Texas. Raul had a bursted pipe in his home that almost completely destroyed his life. He filed an insurance claim with his insurance company, Hippo Insurance. They offered him just over $11,000. He knew something was wrong, hired Tiger Adjusters. We came in, closed it out, just over $179K. For a roughly 1,500% increase relative to what the initial offer was from Hippo Insurance. This is Linda Davis. Linda lives in New Orleans, Louisiana, or just outside. Linda was insured by USAA. They had offered her a little over $1,300 following Hurricane Ida in 2021. Linda's husband, while he was upstairs in hospice, died throughout the claims process, and she was sleeping in the kitchen on a dirty mattress. She hired Tiger Adjusters. We came in, maxed out her policy, got her $53,000. And this is Pastor Anita Coogie out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's the pastor for St. Paul's the Evangelist Lutheran Church. Her insurance company, believe it or not, Church Mutual Insurance Company, bills themselves as the go-to for religious organizations in the United States for insurance purposes, offered $21K. The good Lord put it on Pastor Anita's heart to hire us at Tiger Adjusters. We came in, got her $563,000. These folks all have a couple of things in common. The first is that they trusted in their insurance company. The second is that their insurance company fucked them. Aaron Harper said fuck earlier, so I feel like it's okay. The third is that they hired Tiger Adjusters, and the fourth is that Tiger Adjusters all got them a minimum of 1,500% increase on their insurance claim. The fifth is that they're representative of a systemic issue in the insurance space. These are across multiple carriers, multiple states. It affects every cross-section of America. So what the hell is a public adjuster? Does anybody here know? Comey knows, okay. All right, so that's the problem in this space. There's a consumer awareness problem, right? So what a public adjuster is, high level, we're hired by the consumer, the policyholder, to represent them against their insurance carrier to ensure that they get what they're entitled to under their contract, right? Under their insurance policy, which is a contract. So that's kind of what we do. So we go out, we assess the claim, we go in, we do inspections, we write damage estimates, we submit them to the insurance carrier, and then we strong arm the insurance carrier, for the lack of a better term, right? Hold them accountable. That's probably a more polished way to say it. Why are we the first ones in the space to move into the franchise space? The industry's fragmented, like a lot of the other industries here today. It is largely unsophisticated. It is underdeveloped. That's driven anecdotally by a lot of complacency because there's just a lot of fucking money in the industry. You can do 20 claims a year and you can make 6 figures. We operate on 90% EBITDA margins. There was a government study that came out in 2010 because most of the data in the space is aggregated on the insurance carrier side, and this is, the biggest open secret in the insurance space. So it was commissioned by the government, and they did a study, and they said it came out, and ultimately the outcome showed that the average increase on an insurance claim when a public insurance adjuster is used is 747% compared to the initial offer from the insurance company. So aside from being first to market in the franchise space, how are we pivoting from a wildly successful service company over to a wildly successful and fully scalable franchise system? The first thing that we've done is we've implemented and developed proprietary advanced training. We are going to have the best training in the nation for public insurance adjusting. We have proprietary content on a learning management system. We have interactivity and interactive trainings. We have AR and VR in our technology roadmap down the road. We have spun out a subsidiary demand generation platform called Claim Machine. It's available and you guys can look at it for retail purposes. We have implemented and deployed tech-enabled automations and AI integrations throughout the claims process on the back end. What does that mean? It's a lot of fancy buzzwords. Frankly, what we did was we looked at the process, it was super archaic, and we deployed automations to make sure that we're updating our consumers and informing people throughout the process. We did everything with scalability in mind. So when we started out making a pivot from the service space over to the franchise space, we wanted to make sure that we were going to have the ability at the ZOR level to look in and reach in and identify everything that was going on at the Z level with respect to the claims so that we can have oversight. We have the ability to basically sit anywhere around the world and have a 360-degree view of our entire enterprise. Two of our offices right now, Philadelphia and Houston, these are year-to-date numbers, guys. So as of May 1st, which was the cutoff for the slide, Philadelphia collected just over $250,000 in cash. 90% margin on the EBITDA. Houston, a little over $134,000. Last year, Houston did a little over $500,000. This year, Philadelphia is projected to do $1.2 million, and the enterprise in the moment has about $850,000 in receivables. Been quoted in the Dallas Morning News, the Advocate, the New York Times. It's all very fancy. That's not the point. I want you to take away two things at the end of this presentation, and I'm going to close it out. The first is that roughly 6% of policyholders will file a claim this year, and the second is that only 1% of claims in the moment have a public adjuster involved. That means that 99% of the claims being filed in this country are underpaid. Thank you.
Great presentation yesterday.
Thank you.
We enjoyed it.
Thank you, Chef.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Chef.
So some of the questions I have for you, and I think we probably have some overlap here, but I'll just get us started. Talk to me about the licensing requirements around being an adjuster and how you guys would solve for that for franchisees.
Sure. So I think it's an important distinction to draw a delineation between what folks kind of traditionally know as an independent insurance adjuster or a staff adjuster that works for the insurance carrier versus a public adjuster with sort of a subset license. It's regulated at the state level. Part of the challenge in the space is actually testing for the license, right? So the test itself is actually not insurmountable. It's not super difficult. Our folks in the field have found, success passing the test on the first or second go around. I think that the biggest challenge in the space is that there's not a lot of comprehensive training that's readily available. And so how we're solving for that is we're actually not training folks to the test, right? Prior to them going through our training program, they're going to need to, obtain their license and go through some of the existing training available on the market that teaches toward the test. We're kind of keeping hands off for liability purposes on that. Once they get licensed, they go through our training process to actually train them how to be an owner of a public adjusting business, because that's where we have no training in the space.
How long is the process to get approved, and what is the rigorousness level of rigorousness to get that?
Can you repeat the last part of that? I'm sorry.
How long does it take to get that license, and what are the chances they could get denied? Like what?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking from a scalability standpoint, adding adjusters, what that looks like.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. I appreciate that. So you have to pass a background check. Excuse me. You have to pass a background check. Right, so you have to go through a fingerprinting process, and I think that's actually to the consumer's benefit, right? It's intended to protect the consumer, but barring some sort of blemish, if you will, that would prevent you from getting, licensed, the actual obtaining of that license took me 72 hours. Now, it's also taken some of our guys, 2.5 weeks. It depends how much effort you're putting into the training modules. Insurance is not especially intuitive, and so part of the test for state licensing includes things like marine inland, insurance, right? So unless you're going on a barge on the other side of the world to adjust the loss of some sort of cargo, it's not known knowledge.
I can go next. So perhaps to get into some of the numbers that might have been more boring to talk about yesterday, could you give us line of sight into the upfront investment in AUV that you're anticipating and seeing in your units?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to answer the first part of your question, from an investment standpoint, I'd have to look at our FTD. I think we're somewhere in the range of all in at 65 to 85,000, including full franchise fee. We've structured this business with scalability in mind. So it's actually structured as a home-based franchise, and you have the option to get a physical office space, but there's no build out or anything. So it's intentionally reducing barriers to the space for someone to come in and open up a unit. And we believe that that will also assist in the sort of ramp up to be able to go from sold units to open units. So we're pretty excited about that.
Does that include a vehicle?
Say again?
Does that include a vehicle?
They certainly need a vehicle, but we don't require them to wrap a vehicle. We do require the vehicle to be, I believe, no older than 5 years old, right? Just for kind of general aesthetics and reliability. And in terms of AUV, I think what we want to do is we want to stay away from the best case scenario on an individual unit basis, right? And it's really hard to kind of size that up in our space because we've signed a claim, at the corporate level not too long ago that was a marijuana grow facility, and the fee on that one claim is going to be $600,000. But I think on an average basis, we're probably looking somewhere in the range of, 400 to 600,000 at an AUV level.
What percent of those claims go to the franchisee?
What percent of
the savings that they provide the customer on the public adjusting, right? Like, how does the economics work for the franchisee versus the customer?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. I apologize.
Maybe I'm not.
Let me take another swipe at it. What's the typical bottom line for a franchisee?
On an individual claim basis?
No, total, annual. So if your AEV is 400, 600, what's the typical bottom line?
Now I'm sorry, I'm not super fancy there. Sophistication is a little bit low. If we bring in 100,000 in cash, or a franchisee brings in 100,000 in cash, they're pocketing approximately $90,000 of that cash after expenses.
Do you require that they're full-time, and how do you figure that out, right? It's an owner-operated model. Are they all full-time?
In an ideal world, I would love nothing but absolutely fully committed full-time franchisees. It's not a requirement, and as a matter of fact, the Houston office is not run that way. The Houston office was our flagship. I started the Houston office, and I haven't touched a claim in 9 months.
How do you create awareness in the marketplace for your franchisees? How are they getting? How's the business coming in the door? And if you could talk to that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I touched on it, a little bit yesterday. Awareness is one of the biggest challenges in our space, and I think that the true answer is that creating true penetration from an awareness perspective for the entire consumer market is going to take some time, and it's going to take a little bit of money, right? In the moment, and this is anecdotal, okay, but in the moment, something like 70 to 80% of our business is actually referral based. It comes in from prior clients. It comes in from contractor relationships, right? People that are kind of in the know that the insurance, that the PA space actually exists. But what we find is that when we get a consumer a win, because nobody knows, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like, because we lack consumer awareness at sort of scale, when someone gets a win and they're in the know, they're like the first one to evangelize us because they want to tell their neighbor, hey, like, you're getting screwed by your insurance carrier. I almost got screwed 6 months ago, but I didn't, and here's why. Let me put you onto that.
So creating that consumer awareness, I feel like if a franchisee were to go into a market, they almost need probably a full-time salesperson or something that can go out and develop those relationships, or is the franchisee doing the adjusting and also the selling and also the management of the back-end claims? And how do you see that affecting scale? Yeah,
so I think that when we talk about quote unquote selling, which we call soliciting in our space, but it's just a nomenclature thing. I don't know outside of, so we have, if you can think sort of top of funnel, right? Obviously there's a number of different inputs. By and large, when you have an existing business, it kind of grows from there. What we do is we kind of seed that, so, or at least what we've done up to this point, is kind of seed that market a little bit. So when you have an event like a hailstorm, right, and you have a presence in that space, because we have our proprietary demand generation platform, and there's similar competitive products in the space. I mean, we're not like the first to market over there. But what we're able to do is we're able to say, hey, here's everybody that's been impacted, you know, by an event, and they're likely to have damage to their home, right? You can reach out to them, right? When you kind of seed that market and you get that first dozen or so, it truly, if you were to go through the attribution, almost grows exponentially. And then on the flip side of that, when you're developing the contractor relationships, those are coming in passively over time. So to answer your question, when you open up in a space, you know, we're deploying a certain marketing budget that comes, you know, as soon as they enter into training, we're deploying a certain amount of capital on marketing, you know, through direct marketing means and PPC. We're reaching out, if there's been a storm recently in there, we're reaching out, developing relationships with contractors ahead of time, trying to set them, that franchisee up, you know, sort of for the quickest amount to, or the quickest timeline to profitability as possible.
Can you tell me more about the technology and how that's managed?
Sure, the technology and the claims processing portion of the business, or just?
Yeah, really all of it, right? Like technology has to be a huge part of this, and how much of that's in-house, how much of that's outsourced, is any of it proprietary?
Yeah, so on the SaaS product is Claim Machine, and that's the name of it. It's a geographic information systems based application. It's built on Mapbox. It's got a number of backend APIs, and it's you know, built on an AWS, you know, total backend. And really what it's doing is it's cross-referencing severe weather events, right? And it's taking those weather swaths, if you will, and cross-referencing against baseline property data sets and saying, hey, here's everybody that's been impacted by a given weather event that meets a minimum severity criteria. Click a button, get a CSV with their names, addresses, and phone numbers, right? And then you can feed that into whether you're going to reach out and you're going to upload as a custom audience into social media, or you're going to do some outbound calling, you're going to do some direct mail, you know, then you're kind of going back in, you're taking that data and putting it to a more traditional marketing efforts. In the claims processing side, I won't share with you the provider, and only because that's, you know, we're keeping that kind of close to the chest. But what I will tell you is that we have a third-party provider and deep customizations that's been specific to the claims process. So we took the claims process from sort of soup to nuts, and we said, hey, where can we incorporate innovations and efficiencies where it's like practical, right? Because there's like there are breaks in the process that you can't replicate for, you know, in an automated way at this point. And so we deployed automations and sort of innovations throughout that process. We've aggregated all claims data and communications, importantly, with the insurance carriers and with consumers on that claim in a single location. And then we've integrated, integrated third-party AI into that process to be able to help and assist, you know, someone that's coming on as a franchisee and just got licensed as a public adjuster. You're not going to have all the nuanced knowledge of how to process that claim and interpret that policy. Insurance policies just logically often have conflicts and you know, are convoluted. And so AI is actually really efficient at helping with the logic, right? You know, sort of synthesizing what the heck is this document saying, and then doing that within the context of the claim.
Ted, thank you so much.
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, and give you guys our honest feedback that you could do key takeaways on. So we'll go in the order that you guys presented. So for Tiger Adjusters, we think that there is an opportunity for you to come up with trainings and ways to create more consumer demand, whether that's through a salesperson or helping someone develop referral partnerships, but creating that consumer awareness is going to be crucial for you guys for scale. I also think what I didn't necessarily hear was helping that owner and operator come out, and there is obviously a ton of margin in the 90% there to add add some infrastructure in that helps franchisees do that while still creating a really good business model.
Yeah, and I might just quickly add there that consumer spending money online to create consumer awareness is really expensive. So if you can come up with ways to do that without doing it digitally, you'll be better off.
I also would add, being that we're in a business of mobile trucks, having owners that have wrapped vehicles will definitely help create that awareness. They will definitely get a lot of referrals, especially after a storm happens, and they see the tiger claws out on a car. I think that would definitely help. Certainly yard signs or anything like that could help as well.
That's, if I was to be an investor, probably one of the first things I would do is hire kind of a marketing agency to come up with that whole brand. Hire? Yeah, to come up with that kind of brand awareness and something that would really pop and have, all right, so 4 trucks in a territory equates to this and getting to this. So I think that's something to think about. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, no, I would just say quickly on that, we've invested in 6 home services franchise brands, and one of the things we always talk about is it's really difficult to really exponentially grow your AUV when you're a chuck in a truck. So I would start from the beginning, training franchisees to be business owners and really think about how to codify how much revenue they can generate with 1 truck and what it looks like to manage a team, and then how quickly they should be bringing on their 2nd truck, because you can quickly grow your system-wide sales and then thereby franchise or cash flow with that in mind.
Yeah, a lot of this has been said, and there's some obvious things, but the most interesting thing about this brand or concept to me is there's actually a lot, and I hate it when people use the cliche terms or whatever, but there's a lot that can be done with AI and technology here that could just like hypercharge this. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but great job. A lot
Great
of
job.
opportunity. Yeah.
Do a drum roll.
Drum roll, everyone. The winner is Tiger Adjusters.
Woo!